So, whatever your views on life, the universe, and everything, whether you're a spiritual or scientific person or whatever, the fact is the body and the mind are definitely massively interlinked and dependent upon each other. And so, what have been the two sort of common themes in my life? Martial arts and mental illness, dealing with mental illness. And the most common questions I get asked about both are why and what's it like, which are two enormous questions to try and answer. But I'll try and do this. It might end up being in several parts, but we'll try. So if I start with the mental illness, because that's effectively, what led me to the martial arts in the first place. I needed some kind of agency. I needed some way to very literally fight back and deal with what was going on inside of me. And I also needed a safe environment to sort of exercise the more volatile aspects of myself, which we all have. You might deny it and repress it to the nth degree, but we're all the same machines at the end of the day. We all work on basically the same mechanics. So, okay, what's mental illness like? Well, there are many different varieties and what have you, and even amongst those varieties, everyone's individual experience is going to be different. I realise that. So I can only sort of say what it's like for me. So I'm going to start with the old analogy of the glass. Is it half full? Is it half empty? Well, obviously it's both. One of the constants in life is paradox. So the only true statement about the glass is it's half occupied. But it's entirely up to you whether you want to describe that as half full or half empty. That's your interpretation. That's where the individual comes into play. So when you're suffering, or when I'm suffering from depression, it's not like my logical mind shuts down. It's not like I lose sight of the facts. It's not like my intellectual brain changes in any way. Of course, I understand the truth in the statement that the glass is half full. I just can't feel it in any way, shape or form. All you can connect with, all you can feel is the half empty aspect of it. And often then you start trying to tell yourself, what's wrong with you? Pull yourself together, snap out of it, blah, blah, blah. And you're firing this information back at yourself, but, it's not coming from that truly heartfelt emotional place. You can state the facts till you're blue in the face, but it isn't going to change the fact that you're just not feeling it. So that's it in a nutshell. And there are many different aspects to it for me as well. I am terrible with internal continuity. It's hard to explain this. If anyone's ever seen the film Memento with the actor Guy Pearce, where the main character's got like a very short memory span and he's tattooing clues all over his body to try and help himself remember, and he's in some kind of a situation, a bit of bother. That's apparent, but he doesn't know the details of the situation. He wakes up at one point in the movie and he finds himself in a car chase, and he can't remember if he's being chased or if someone's chasing him, and then the back window gets shut out. Is that right? I'm being chased. And it's that level of confusion and that lack of continuity that kicks in with myself. That's really disturbing. I also don't have a very good sense of object constancy. Now, what I mean by that is when a young child, an infant, when you go out the room and it kicks off and goes absolutely crazy, it's because it cannot tell the difference between your temporary absence and your complete annihilation from existence. Yeah, and at some point in time, we develop the sense that there is actually some continuity and that person will come back and blah blah blah, and you're able to sort of hold somebody in mind much better. I struggle, even to this day, even with my own kids that I love more than anything. Of course I know I have kids. Intellectually, again, my intellectual brain is never affected by any of this stuff. It's the sensations. I just can find it extremely difficult to hold anyone in mind unless I'm physically with them. There's advantages to this. it can, give me incredible focus. If I'm in a ring or I'm in a cage or I'm fighting, I'm focused anyway, but I'm in even more so. And that can be good, if you're trying to focus on a task, that complete absorption in the moment is fantastic. But on the flip side of that, if the moment at hand is me having a massive anxiety attack or really struggling with depression, sat alone in my flat in these four walls, then I've got nothing there to reach on to balance that picture out with, because I've really struggled to bring anyone or anything else positive to mind. So there's no balance to that picture. So it's extreme. So there are many other sort of aspects to it, really. A complete lack of a sense of self, though, is definitely in there for me. Just feelings of disassociation, of unreality. And a lot of these are linked in with like extreme adrenal release and things like that, and I'm familiar with them. And again, a lot of these I have become far, far more effective at dealing with after my time in the martial arts, and particularly like competitive combat sport and fighting, because you're exposed to that adrenaline all the time. It stops being so scary. And that's really, one of the first steps, I would say, when you're dealing with any kind of problem. The first step would be information and knowledge and learning the mechanics of it. In the same way that with the martial arts, the first step is to learn the basic mechanics of the movement. And then from there, we can start to really experience and learn.